Well, thank you very much, Rose, first of all, for the interview. I'm a big fan from Saint Maud. Imagine that. I saw it in the Morelia Festival. That it was really a great screening over there. Congratulations on this film. My first question, there's a sense of freedom all over the movie. That's my sensation. Was a difficult film to make, to get produced by, A24, which is a terrific company. It's a big challenge, and it amazed me to see that on the screen. You know what I mean? That guts on it,
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was, to be honest, I think I was incredibly fortunate in that, in terms of getting the film produced, I was very supportive and met with a lot of encouragement from early on, because A24, as you say, sort of financed this along with Film 4 in the UK, and we developed the script with them, and they made St. Maud, Film 4 did. So from the beginning, they were kind of like, cool, what do you want to do? And then I came to them with a rough version of this kind of idea, and I think they kind of went, cool, okay, go for it, sort of thing. So so that was very encouraging, and I think that sort of support definitely made it a lot easier to have a certain degree of boldness. I mean, that was the thing I said I wanted to do from the beginning, to sort of like take quite a big swing. And it's so exciting to get the opportunity to make films, and having made St. Maud, which was I guess also that was a slightly more insular kind of film, and obviously smaller. So I think this time I just wanted to really kind of try and take some risks and sort of see what I could get away with.
Well, turns a great movie. How the idea came up of this film? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I'm really bad at like sort of there wasn't like a sort of, I don't know, it evolved, I think, towards the end of post-production for St. Maud. I was kind of thinking about what to do next, and knew I wanted to make something really fun and kind of pulpy, thrillerish, kind of violent. And I just thought doing something about a female bodybuilder would be really interesting. I don't know, I just found it like a fascinating thing to undertake, and sort of psychologically it sort of seemed like quite fun sort of territory, and obviously visually is very striking. So I don't know. And then I was sort of like taking the piss a bit, but I think at that point when I was being interviewed for St. Maud, people would talk a lot about like strong female characters. So it was probably making a bit of a joke of that as well.
The tone of the film, it's very unique. For me, it's like a blend of genres. You know what I mean? It's not easy to tag the movie in with some label, which is terrific. But how did you get the tone so right? Because is it something instinct? You know what I mean? When you're directing, or is it something that you program in some way that you imagine before you start shooting?
I suppose that is the thing to be what came naturally. So in that sense, I think instinctual, but obviously it's this constantly shifting thing as you're making it. So I think from the beginning, I sort of, and along with my co-writer Veronica Tofilska, who I wrote it with, we knew that the kind of thing we were writing, we were sort of enjoying leaning into the kind of pulpy thriller aspects. Obviously, it's a love story. I think the sort of elements of surrealism and the slightly more heightened stuff, that's just, I think, what comes most naturally to me. Like all my short films have a lot of these kind of elements. But then as you're making it, and at every stage when you're writing it and shooting it and editing it, you're constantly kind of weighing everything up. And I guess the tonal thing is sort of trying to make sure that all your collaborators, all your heads of department sort of have the same film in their head, hopefully. So it's it's this weird thing. You have to sort of like be instinctual, but I don't know, keep the train on the tracks as it's going along.
Rose, and the casting of Kristen Stewart and Kathy O'Brien, it was a no-brainer, or it was something that you were looking for, or it was something that happened, in the way?
Kristen, I was sort of like fantasizing about having her in this role from really early on writing it. I think as soon as me and Veronica as soon as we decided to set it in America and we had like an idea of who this character was, you sort of always go through the exercise of who your fantasy casting would be, just as a hypothetical exercise. And so I was picturing her from the beginning, didn't know if she'd do it or not. So she was the first person we showed the script to, and she, seen St. Maud and liked it. So that was incredibly fortunate and quite surprisingly smooth. And then Katie, who plays Jackie, the bodybuilder, she that was a lot trickier. She we started looking really early, and our casting directors kind of we saw tapes of like hundreds of people. It was tricky because I was sort of saying from the outset that like I knew we had to find somebody who could really physically convince as a bodybuilder, because obviously you have the conversations where people are going, oh, maybe you could cast so-and-so famous actor and we'll get them a trainer and maybe they can bulk up. But that's the whole thing about bodybuilding that I sort of find fascinating, is that there's no shortcut to it. There's no, there's only one way of looking like that. And it's like really consistent hard work over a really long period of time. So we were seeing all these different women who did kind of weightlifting and wrestling and boxing and everything. But I think finding a combination of someone who had that physicality and was also, really talented actor, and it's a two-hander with Kristen, that proved difficult. And we were already out in Albuquerque doing prep for the film, and we still hadn't, we were seeing all these people and we just couldn't find anyone. And then, thank God, basically Katie, our casting directors, put out a casting call on Twitter, and somebody who was a fan of Katie's, because she is an actor actually, but she'd been in like Mandalorian and Ant-Man, but also had been a bodybuilder and has this martial arts background. Thank God she basically found out about the casting call and was kind of like, why didn't I hear about this already? So she sent us a tape and we cast her, and it was brilliant once we found her, but that was literally like 2 weeks before we started shooting, I think. So it was literally kind of like, oh, thank God, okay, quick, come to Albuquerque, do the costumes, do the rehearsal. So I think within her being cast and being on set with Kristen, it's like a few weeks. Sorry, long answer, but
Rose, do you think that this movie could have been made like 10 years ago?
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I like to think so. I mean, maybe probably, I imagine maybe not with the same ease and budget potentially. Certainly if you go back 20 years, definitely not. It's definitely a sort of a shifting kind of thing. I think I'm just, benefiting from probably a lot of harder work that other people have done in the past to kind of fight to have stories like this on screen, so that someone like me could basically come along and just kind of go, this is what I want to do, and have people be really supportive of it. So I guess that's a good sign, but hopefully that just continues.
Well, the movie is so unique. You were nervous before the Sundance premiere of this movie. It takes you by surprise, the reception of the film.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what, we've so far, actually, I guess it had the release here. I've been surprised at how, I always feel like I'm jinxing it by saying anything about the response being positive, in case maybe everyone else who sees it now is like, I hate it. But yeah, I thought it would be more divisive, to be honest. I mean, I know there's, the final act seems to be the thing which sort of divides people a bit, but hopefully, I think it's like a personal taste thing. I'm really proud. I'm really proud of the ending in particular, but I know it's sort of, it works for some people and doesn't for others. But I think, but even then, people who sort of aren't sure if they like the ending or not, they seem to still enjoy the film, which is great. So yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. I thought it would be a bit more divisive, but so far people seem to have been. I'm just really happy people just seem to really enjoy watching it. Like I always knew I wanted it to be like a really fun movie-going experience, and I think some people maybe thought it was going to be a bit more serious and kind of depressing. And it's like, there is darkness in the film, there is serious stuff, but it's, the spirit that it was made in was one of like sort of quite joyful and playful and, just trying to surprise ourselves and, I don't know, not take it too seriously.
You know what?
That's not true.
I think the movie, it's a game changer, in my own opinion. You know what I mean? Because of the risk of it. And not only the love story, but the tone of it and the mix of the genre. Thank you very much for the interview, Rose.
Thank you. Lovely to talk to you.
Congratulations.
Really glad you liked it. Thank you.